And here we go. Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Elizabeth, the Education Coordinator for Marlene's Market and Deli. Tonight's special guest that we have with us is Doug Williams of Green Earth Medicinals. And we are always so grateful to have him with us and sharing his expertise on CBD 101. Thank you so much, Doug, for joining us.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you. Okay, so we'll get started. Hi, everybody. My name is Doug Williams. I'm the National Sales Director for Green Earth Medicinals. And today we're going to be talking about how hemp extracted CBD uh, works within our body, affects our perception of the world, and threats within it, whether that be pain, anxiety, or immune challenges. And kind of as Elizabeth said, kind of CBD 101, an introduction to understanding the plant and clinical use and how you can use it to support your health. So we present this information to help you understand the current science and clinical, herbal, and medical experience guiding our understanding of CBD dominant hemp and its benefits. Hopefully, you'll come away with this with a better understanding of hemp as a tool in your herbal toolbox. We don't pretend to have all the answers, but hopefully you will come away from this training better informed and asking better questions about hemp. So, as a company that works with medical professionals as well as natural products retailers, we do have to be cautious about how we talk about what we do. So, to be clear, this information is for professional educational purposes to understand CBD and hemp and how we use it to support health. This is not meant to be a marketing claim that we're a drug or to treat, cure, or mitigate a disease or disease state in a man or animal. And cannabis in its various forms is still facing a rapidly changing landscape, and discussion of the current law is not meant to replace the advice of a trained attorney. So, the outline of today's module is that we're going to talk a little bit about the current state of the hemp market, and we're going to talk about cannabis as a herb and a crop and the challenges and choices for production and extraction that come with that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the endocannabinoid system and cell signaling. We'll also talk about how cannabis and CBD interact with our body's cell signaling systems and how we use cannabis in clinics and the choices that you can make for quality and efficacy. So if you're not aware, Green Earth Medicinals is the clinical brand of CBD products that were developed out of Southern Oregon. And our company has been backed by decades of medical and herbal practice in cannabis in Oregon, with over 4,000 case studies informing the development of these products. Our products were developed with practitioners for use with their patients and for those who support their health with CBD. Excuse me. We combine full spectrum cannabis extracts with other medicinal herbs for targeted use. And the biggest difference between Green Earth and other companies is mostly our intention. We're trying to make medicine to support health. And there are dozens of choices we make that collectively result in producing the most effective botanical medicine formulas we can produce for people who truly need them. So since the passage of the 2014 and 2018 farm bills, hemp has become the number 5 cash crop in the United States. And we saw the CBD market grow to over 4,000 brands. There's kind of been a peak and crash. We're now under 2,000 brands. We may be down under around 1,500 now. And unfortunately, most consumers report that they've been disappointed in the offerings available. And this is easy to understand when you look at it. Currently, sales are less than half of what they were pre-pandemic, and most of that comes because most of the products that were put on the market did not meet label claims, with most products averaging about a quarter less CBD than labeled, and most of what was sold was or broad spectrum uh, hemp extracts were actually just CBD isolate, which unfortunately doesn't work as well as full spectrum plants. That's true for all plants and herbs. Isolates just don't work as well as the full spectrum. There's always more going on than just one ingredient. In addition, lack of proper regulation has led to the emergence of synthetic cannabinoids such as Delta 8 to come on the market that's really creating a lot of problems. Now, this is less of a problem up in the Northwest where you guys have access to all forms of cannabis, including marijuana. But in states where that's not the case, Delta 8 and these other synthetic cannabinoids have become the alternative or legal weed is the way they think of it Unfortunately, it doesn't, it's not helping because it used to be that hemp was the cannabis that didn't get you high. Now we have a hemp that is a semi-legal intoxicant that's creating problems. And unfortunately, it's kind of muddying the waters. Um, so that's not so much an issue in your area, so we won't go too far into it. But even when consumers are getting high quality products, the biggest problem is most people aren't using CBD correctly to get the best results. So we're going to go over the proper use of CBDs to support your health and explain why it's important that you source your products from reputable retailers such as Marlene's who screen their product choices to ensure you're getting the best quality available. So, hemp is a form of cannabis sativa, and cannabis is now understood to be just one plant species, from the 30-foot tall trees that are used in industrial hemp to the smaller flowering bushes that we favor for medical use. It's all cannabis sativa. Sativa is Latin for cultivar, and these are all cultivars. So, similar to how there are thousands of grape varieties that can be made into different wines, and we have different cannabis varieties that can affect people differently. And these, in turn, can express differently based on environmental stress and immune challenges the plant experiences while it's growing. Now, the beneficial compounds of the cannabis plant are most concentrated in what look like these little water balloons on the surface of the leaf. And these are trichomes. They cover the flowers and leaves, and we have a much greater quantity and diversity of phytochemicals present in these trichomes than we would see in the stalk, which is very little CBD and a limited spectrum of other compounds. The most effective products to support health are made from full spectrum extracts made from the flowers and leaves of the plants. Now, within this one species, we have currently identified tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of different cultivars that express different compounds based on what they're exposed to while growing. And this is why the physical effects of the plants can vary greatly among different varieties and companies. Where it's grown and how it's grown really matters. CBD and THC are a start to understanding what you get, but there's hundreds of terpenes, flavones, stilbenes, etc., that can drive and change the physical effects for the consumer. Now, the terpenes, the flavones, and these other compounds are determined by the environment as much as the genetics. So where it grows matters as much as what variety is grown, as much as it does say with wine. The Pacific Northwest, particularly Southern Oregon, has hot, dry days and cool nights with low humidity, which creates ideal growing conditions for cannabis, similar to how that environment is also great for growing Pinot Noir grapes. I like to say that I myself am from Atlanta, Georgia, and you can grow Pinot Noir grapes in our red clay, but nobody wants to drink that wine. And it's kind of a similar situation with what's happening as we're growing hemp out here. Is most of our farmers are suffering from having crops that aren't too happy in this hot house that we live in of high humidity. And this is a plant that is real sensitive to mold, mildew, and fungus. So you can see how that contributes to problems. Now, there are three main cannabinoids that are found in every cannabis plant: CBG, CBD, and THC. Now, CBG is the precursor or mother cannabinoid, and then the plant is going to produce THC and CBD relative to the presence of enzymes that make that conversions. Now, the plants can also have up to 150 other cannabinoids to varying degrees, depending on the genetics and environment. We have a basic understanding of THC and CBD, but most of the other cannabinoids are really not well understood. Plants can be bred to produce more or less of these compounds, but all full spectrum plants are going to have a little bit of these three compounds. Now, in general, CBD is very neuroprotective. It normalizes sensitivity of the nervous system receptors and improves the overall function of the nervous system and the endocannabinoid, immune, and gut systems, and supports their cell signaling. Current understanding is that CBD doesn't directly stimulate the endocannabinoid receptors the way that THC does, but we think that CBD upregulates their enzymes responsible for the production of our own endocannabinoids and may slow the enzymatic degradation of those compounds and improving the sensitivity of the receptors of helping the body come together. So basically, it makes your body produce more of the good stuff and respond better to it. The clinical observations are that the best benefit for CBD comes from its ability to help the body respond better to our needs through consistent support and upregulation. Now, THC is the most well-known cannabinoid due to its popularity for recreational use in marijuana. And the difference between hemp and marijuana is literally not a botanical difference. It's just how much THC it has. If it's less than 0.3% THC, it's legally considered hemp. If it's higher than that, it's legally considered marijuana. And that's literally just a legal definition. Now, some companies will remove THC to produce what is called a broad spectrum extract, but this is generally a bad idea when it comes to making effective medicine. The amount of THC in hemp isn't enough to get a person high or intoxicated, but it is sufficient to improve the function of the body's internal system and make our bodies more sensitive to our own compounds we're producing. Now, we've had options for clinical use without THC for years, even without terpenes, but the practitioners found the THC forms just don't work as well as the full spectrum. And they've observed that even the small amount of THC in hemp really improves the outcomes. The current thinking is it makes the body more receptive to the compounds we produce, and it is an example of how the compounds and plants work together to produce better results, which is also sometimes called the entourage effect. Now, there's up to 150 other cannabinoids that can be in the plant, plus terpenes, flavones, and other polyphenols that interact with the endocannabinoid system. The published pharmacology info on these is pretty limited, but we know from clinical experience that whole plant medicine is the best and gives the best results. This is what people are talking about with the entourage effect, that it's the full spectrum of plant compounds that work better. We only remove elements where the medicine has been proven to be as effective without them, such as removing waxes to improve absorption and removing chlorophyll to improve palatability, meaning we're trying to make it taste better. Now, I keep referencing the internal body systems, particularly the endocannabinoid system. So let's talk about that. You may have heard that your body has a system to absorb cannabis. That's not exactly true. The receptor network is not there for us to interact with this plant. It's an internal system built to respond to compounds we produce that the cannabis plant is interacting with. The ECS is responsible for helping the body perceive threats in the internal and external environment and rebalance itself as it responds to stress, maintenance, immune, and repair needs. Now, our body's cells and system have ways of communicating and coordinating activity with each other through what's called cell-to-cell signaling. Most cell signaling systems are named after the self-produced chemicals they interact with, such as serotonin or GABA. A few were named after the plants they interacted with, such as opioid or nicotinoid receptors. This doesn't mean that we are supposed to be consuming opium and cigarettes. It just means that those plants are interacting with a pre-existing body system, and we discovered that system studying the plants. We discovered the receptors for the ECS while studying cannabis, and that's how the system got its name. The ECS is a conductor among cell signaling system, meaning that it directs how these other systems work. Now, this endocannabinoid system is a synaptic cell signaling system. There are other cell signaling systems, but synaptic means really, really close between the different neurons. A longer system that travels more distance in the body would be a hormonal system. There's a lot of other cell signaling system, but this one is a synaptic one that our bodies use to provide biofeedback and communicate information about our internal and external environment, often in regards to threat perception. Now, the ECS helps the body perceive and rebalance itself as it responds to stress, maintenance, immune, and repair needs. The ECS is part of how our bodies communicate information about our internal and external environment. It's three parts, and these are the parts that are found in every cell signaling system are the endocannabinoids, or rather the messenger compounds, the receptors built to receive the message, and the enzymes that cause you to produce those compounds. In the ECS, it's the endocannabinoids compounds. We know the most about anandamide and 2-AG. There may be more. Research is still ongoing. We also have the receptors. In this case, they are CB1 and CB2. There's increasing research to indicate a third called, you guessed it, CB3. And we have others that we think, other ways that the system is interacting that is yet to be fully understood. And then, of course, there's the enzymes that cause you to produce those mentioned endocannabinoid messengers. These messengers in the system are an important part of how the central nervous system, gut, and immune system work together to respond to our needs and coordinate other body system responses. The system is important because deficiencies of these messenger compounds are now thought to be related to dysfunction of our cell signaling systems, and that may be a root cause of many of our health problems. Now, the ECS guides the functions of the endocrine, gut, and central nervous systems and how we relax, eat, sleep, forget, and protect ourselves, both physically and emotionally, in particular, how we perceive and respond to internal and external stressors. So let's quickly review how those different systems can go awry. Now, relaxing is the key thing that people often think of when they think of cannabis. But realistically, in regards to our health, if you are not able to turn off your fight or flight response and simply relax, this really can contribute to health problems, and it's a really common challenge in our overstimulated society. If you can't turn that stress response off or stop worrying, you could have difficulty with anxiety, digestion, sleep, pain management, and immune health. A properly functioning ECS is essential to helping us properly turn off the stress response. Now, if you're stuck in a stress response, that can contribute to poor digestion as it directs circulation away from the internal digestive organs. We all know that when you go swimming, you're not, or if you not, when you eat, you're not supposed to go swimming for 30 minutes after. Well, that's because all the blood flow is going to your gut and you don't have a lot of blood flow going to your major muscles and you go swimming with insufficient blood flow, your muscles could cramp and that's a problem if you're trying to swim and keep on the right side of the water. So the flip side of that is if all your blood flow is going to those major muscles because you're in that stress response, you will have insufficient blood going and energy going into your gut, and that can impair your digestion. So over time, chronic stress and poor digestion commonly correlate to major health challenges. Now, a lot of issues can contribute to poor sleep, but the ECS is very involved in helping the body set its circadian rhythms, which set our sleep and energy cycles and calm our stress response to support restful and reparative sleep. Now, people joke about forgetting with cannabis, and that is a thing that happens with marijuana use. But it is important for us to be able to let things go and compartmentalize certain experiences away from our active thought process. And in some cases, people have a hard time of it. The ECS is essential in this process of keeping proper perspective on emotional threats and not being so easily triggered to past traumatic experiences. Now, self protection is where it really gets interesting for pain management and worry, as they're both aspects of threat perception. Both emotional fear and physical pain perception can become oversensitized to where very little input can trigger an over response. Supporting the ECS can be a very effective way of improving these responses for a better quality of life. Part of the immunity part of protection involves the proper perception of our environment at the cellular level and recognizing friends from foe. Failure in this area is especially problematic as the body can fail to differentiate self from non self and start attacking our body in what are known as autoimmune disorders. The ECS governs the cellular communication with the microbiome of the gut, helping the body differentiate beneficial bacterial and other compounds from harmful viruses, bacteria, fungi, and other pathogens. In short, the role of the endocannabinoid system is to help support a healthy perception of our world and our responses to it. CBD supports the ECS's healthy function, and the health benefits of CBD come from supporting this system as the body restores a healthy response to stress and threats. So let's explore a little bit more about CBD and its delivery systems, its CBD and its growth, and approaches we have found effective and how they might support you or benefit you in supporting your health. The main thing to understand, the goal of CBD therapy is to upregulate and support the function of the ECS, and this is best done by keeping CBD in the body as long as possible to keep the ECS operating at maximum efficiency. Because again, CBD upregulates the production of the good compounds and helps keep them in your system longer. Now, most market data has shown that most consumers don't know the standard protocols for using CBD or how to differentiate the different choices that are available, so let's do a quick review. While it is usually legal to use straight flower, either smoked or eaten in its hemp form, they can be problematic in clinical use. First, the flower can vary wildly from season to season and even field to field, so consistency can be a challenge. Also, smoking flower is a fast-acting delivery of CBD to the system, hitting the bloodstream in about 15 seconds, but it also leaves the body very quickly, with most of the benefits gone in about an hour. So eating the flower in food can also give wildly different results based on the preparation forms, as well as based on the form of the flower, or would the growing methodology, the drying methodology, the environment was grown in. All of this variation and low predictability is gives you problems with absorption and utilization. So extracts are the preferred method for clinical use, but there's still choices to consider in the form of extraction. So hemp can be extracted in a variety of ways and results. And first of all, it depends on who's doing it and the choices they make. So for every form of extraction, there are better choices that can be made. There are worse choices that can be made. Now, CBD can become as an isolate form, broad spectrum, which is a term for stripping the plant of THC and other compounds, and then adding back in essential oils. Or what is full spectrum, which suggests that all the major compounds are present from the original plant. Full disclosure, no extraction process is actually 100%. So there's always going to be a difference between the extract and the original plant, and choices that made along the way in extraction can give you wildly different results. So supercritical fluid extracts are popular and can be the most effective depending on choices made in extraction. This process has been used for some of the highest quality and lowest quality extracts on the market. And so it isn't just a guide of, is this supercritical? It really matters who's doing the process. The most popular way to use it, first of all, we spend about 17 hours on this process, adjusting the pressure levels. And this is basically using gas pressure to do the extraction in a fluid form. So you start at a lower pressure point and then work your way to higher pressure points over the hours. And at every different pressure point, there are different compounds that you can pull off. And by controlling this process, it allows us to get a lot more consistency out of the plant, even if it has some natural variation from season to season. This lets us really focus on getting an exceptionally diverse amount of minor compounds, which provide better results than the less diverse extractions. What do all these minor compounds do? We have no idea. We just know that the end result is we get better medicine and better results when we try to collect them. On the other end of the scale, many companies will rush the process for cost efficiency and use it to just strip the plant down to CBD isolate. This is called a race car process, and it can give you just isolate in about an hour and a half with none of the other compounds. This is a much less effective form of the medicine. It also is going to give a burn taste to the medicine, and is much less effective product than what the clinics are going to need. You got to look at the certificate of analysis to actually see what the yield of cannabinoid is, and that can typically be found on the website of the manufacturer. So if you get the lot number and you go to their website, you can take a look at that. And we'll come back to C of A's. Now, carrier oil extractions and alcohol extractions are the oldest form of extraction, and they're still popular because they're very cheap to produce. So you take a plant, soak it in oil or alcohol for 30 days, and many of the compounds will absorb into the oil or alcohol. They're very popular as they're cheap and easy to produce, but you have to clean them up in post-extraction to remove the waxes and chlorophyll. Otherwise, they're pretty poorly absorbed and can have a really foul taste, sometimes referred to as bong water. So they can be very helpful, but but there are, if you clean them up, they can be helpful, but they're still less beneficial than the more sophisticated methods of formulation. Now, other solvents are very common because they're very cheap, but they have health concerns for the nervous systems because you have things like butane, hexane, acetone, and propane are often still retained in the finished product. And this will show up in the C of A's under solvents. And you can look at it by looking at the C of A report and then look under the solvent report. Now, if you see ethanol, that's clean stuff. That's usually sugar alcohol, and in the Northwest, it often comes from beets. Also can come from corn. Anything you can make alcohol from. Usually, going to use an organic source. Um, but if you see something with butane, hexane, acetone, or propane, that's a product you want to avoid, especially if you already have other health challenges. The best way to determine the safety of the extractor you use is go to the website, look at the C of A, and determine the presence of those solvents. Now, been referring to this certificate of analysis. So let's take a quick review of what this is. This is certification by a third-party lab of what's in a product. But it's not just enough to look at the website. You need to look at the C of A, look for the lab director's name, and look for their phone number and call the lab and confirm that the C of A that you're looking at, the lab report matches the lot number that you have in your hand, and that the dating that you see matches what they have. Because Photoshop is a thing, and herb fraud is one of the oldest businesses in the world. Now, this slide shows some of the questions that you want to be asking. Who did the test? Is the report real? Can you find the lab director and contact them? Does the report match their record? You also want to look at the number of cannabinoids. CBD absolutely should be present, but does it have CBG? Does it have THC? They both should be there for its full spectrum. Are there terpenes, flavones, and other minor compounds present? That'll tell you the quality of the extract you're getting. You want to look for heavy metal testing. Pesticides and herbicides should not be present in something that you're going to be ingesting with this. Also, was it product tested for microbiology, staph, yeast, mold, salmonella? Can be problems in any herbal product, and a good company is always going to test for that. And then, of course, you want to look for a solvent test to make sure you don't have butane, hexane, or propane present. So, as I mentioned, Green Earth Medicinals is a company producing formulas for clinical use for practitioners, for their patients, and for people who use CBD to support their health. Our formulas are not for recreational use, they're really built to support the health of people and based on the need of practitioners rather than the latest fad. And we're really trying to support health for people. So, these are our options that we use. So, of all CBD products, supercritical CO2 extract and MCT oil is the most popular in clinical use as it's the most predictable, consistent, well absorbed, and effective delivery method for ongoing therapeutic system support. Unlike smoking or vaping, ingested oil is much slower to absorb. It typically will take up to 2 to 3 hours to achieve tissue saturation, but it has the advantage of staying in the system much longer. It has a half-life of about 6 hours, meaning half of it is gone in about 6 hours, half of it's still there. And it can take up to 36 hours to fully deplete from the system. For this reason, CBD is used at every meal and bedtime in a clinical setting to keep the levels of the endogenous compounds, anandamide 2-AG, at their highest while assisting with their function and the body's receptivity. Now, our sublingual drops are available in two potencies at 600 or 1500 milligrams per ounce. That number in blue is a requirement that we have to show you the cannabinoid content. So it's going to change based on the volume of the containers. So a 1 ounce at 600 becomes a 2 ounce at 1200. Now, we have the different potencies so we can have a wide range of serving size based on the need of a consumer. Our regular strength is designed to be microdosed down to exactly 1/2 milligram of CBD per single drop. And our products are designed that the first drop and the last drop should be identical. And we put a lot of work to get that consistency that you don't see with a lot of other companies. Now, each dropper is going to have graduated marks on that, and that allows you to measure more easily what you're getting. You can measure by the drop or you can measure by the mark. Each mark is going to give you 5 milligrams of CBD and a total of 20 milligrams in dropper in a regular strength. The extra strength, it has 12.5 milligrams per drop per mark and 50 milligrams per dropper. And basically, you increase your dosing until you get what's exactly right for you. But once you get above 20 milligrams, it makes sense per serving. It makes sense to go ahead and use the extra strength so that you can make it, you don't have to take as much volume. Now, why do we use MCT oil? Well, it really increases the absorption and stability over other oils. In particular, it's a lot better than hemp oil. Now, hemp oil sounds like, oh, that's the way it is in nature. In nature, yes, but unfortunately, once you take it out of the plant, it becomes really unstable. It becomes very volatile, meaning that it starts to rincidify within about a week. So by the time the consumer is finishing a bottle, the product is going to taste very different. The delivery is still okay, but compliance with something that tastes bad is not so much. Now, we use spearmint, cinnamon, and lemon ginger from essential oils because they are a cleaner source for improving the absorption, taste, and efficacy. In particular, there are complementary compounds in those essential oils that we think improve the absorption of the plant. And then finally, we use sunflower lecithin to improve absorption. This gives you a better mouthfeel and ensures to the drop consistency. It keeps the resins from separating from the oil. And there's a little bit of phosphatidylcholine that helps support the nervous system. Now, the lecithin we use is unique in that most of what's out there is a hexane solvent extracted from soybeans, and that's a top allergen for a lot of people. And soybeans are usually GMO. Ours is not solvent extracted, and we use it from sunflowers, which are a non-GMO crop. So even as we prefer oil for all ongoing support, everybody is unique, and there's no standard recommendation of how much CBD is going to be used per milligram per kilogram of body weight. What we do know is that divided dosing gives better results, with 5 milligrams 4 times a day working much better than 20 milligrams once a day or 10 milligrams twice a day. Same total volume of CBD, but the delivery method and how frequently you take it dramatically changes the results. Still, there is a great deal of range for how much works. Some people find that 5 milligrams 4 times a day is great, while other people may use 25, 50, or even 100 milligrams per serving. And in clinical use, it's not unusual for us to use up to 1,500 milligrams a day. So this is exceptionally safe. You don't have to worry about taking too much, but ideally you want to use just enough to support what you need. So instead of a one size fits all approach, we suggest start at a lower level and increase the serving size each day until you get to the level of comfort you're looking for. Some are going to need less, some are going to need more, but people can feel comfortable in finding your own level as hemp is exceptionally safe. The optimal way to increase your levels is going to be at dinner and bedtime, and this tends to support a more restorative sleep. This chart is an example of how you would increase it on a daily basis. So this is breakfast, lunch, dinner, and bedtime at 5 milligrams each serving for the first day, and then increasing it to 10 the next day, and so forth. And that's the approach that we would do it. And then we often provide for retailers with this little herbal serving record, and it's a tool to help consumers track your servings and figure out what's best for them. And so it lets you really dial in to exactly the amount you need that works for you. So while our sublingual drops are ideal for ongoing support of the endocannabinoid system and helps to normalize and support its function, there are times when we need more than what the simple oil has to offer. So for this reason, we develop formulas that give us targeted results for certain systems when we might be looking for different results in regards to time of delivery or function. So our oral buccal spray is for quick as needed support. It's a staff and employee favorite, as well as my wife, who uses this for anxiety about flying. Very different than the drops. It's a fast absorbing version of our full spectrum extract, but we put it in an ethanol solution with other herbal ingredients that absorb readily through the mucous membranes of the cheek. This is typically used for fast, quick improvements to physical and mental comfort, popular for acute use for occasional nervous tension, to reduce stress, and improve comfort while working. Many people like to do it before and after workout. First thing in the morning or even before a meeting, this formula is designed to give quick, effective results that will calm your nerves. This is the same 600 milligrams an ounce full spectrum hemp extract that we use in our oil with all of the cannabinoids, terpenes, and other natural compounds. We use organic sugarcane derived alcohol, ethanol for fast absorption, and then prickly ash is opening your saliva glands, and by doing that, we give you a backdoor into the bloodstream. The saliva glands become a delivery system to speed absorption, and that also helps it bind to the CB2 receptors and increase receptor activity and effect by using prickly ash. Now, the other ingredients, kava, propolis, spearmint, lohan, these are basically there to anesthetize the mouth. When you use hemp in a alcohol form, it bites back. There's a natural black pepper back of the throat bite and acridity that comes with the hemp plant. And when you put it in alcohol, it gets much more profound. It's powerful. So these other herbs basically allow you to numb the mouth. So when you spray that in the cheek, you get about a 1 second of a bite. And then all of a sudden you feel like you've been to the dentist because that part of your mouth goes numb. That's totally intentional so that you can hold the oil in there without being uncomfortable. And then the spilanthes causes you to drool a little bit. You're going, wait a minute. And that's all about how this is going to get you to deliver into your system. I don't think there's anybody else who takes that approach to working with it, but it gives us a very fast acting, effective result. So this gives you benefits in as little as 15 minutes. But there's a rule that if it goes in fast, it goes out fast. And same thing with this. If it comes in 15 minutes, in this case, it's going to be gone in about 4 to 6 hours. So it's great for short as needed results, but not as well suited as the drops are for ongoing support because of that faster depletion time. Now we took that buccal spray formula and we adapted it into a sleep spray by using a stronger potency or actually just um, a little bit more extract in the formula. So this is going to be 900 milligrams per ounce. It's about 50% more CBD per spray than the buccal spray. And then we used other herbs to really help support the endocannabinoid system, but also the GABA production and utilization system. GABA is a calming neurotransmitter that our body uses throughout the day and night to help calm us down and kind of is mildly sedative. So passion flower increases concentration of GABA in the brain. It also has a reputation among herbalists for calming the chattering mind. And if you find yourself in the middle of the night thinking of all the things you got to do tomorrow, this is a great friend to you to just let your system calm itself down. Lemon balm is also great for soothing the nervous system, and it slows the breakdown of GABA. It slows that enzymatic degradation of GABA, similar to how the CBD slows the enzymatic degradation of endocannabinoids. Really great complementary effect there, allowing again our body to hang on to what it's producing longer for better results. Also, lemon balm is calming to the digestive tract. Now, skullcap is legendary for supporting deep sleep and used for insomnia, restless sleep, anxiety, agitation, and nervous exhaustion. That many times people get into a situation where they're so tired they can't sleep. Skullcap is great for that. It's indicated also for nervous irritation of the cerebrospinal nervous system. So really, really great for calming down that nervous system and helping support a good sleep. And then, of course, chamomile is probably the best known of all of our herbs for helping to support a proper sleep. It's got a ton of other properties. It's anti-inflammatory. It helps reduce anxiety. It's mildly sedative. It's antispasmodic for your muscles if you've got twitching legs. It's overall just great for calming the nervous system and reducing gastrointestinal irritation. It's a nervine specific for neural irritability in people with really strong overactive nervous systems. It also decreases the inflammatory states of the nervous system. So really well put together formula and one of my favorites. Now, we also have topical approaches to using CBD that are really great for pain management, and we complement CBD with herbs to improve the results. Now, skin absorption doesn't enter the central nervous system, so these products are not sedating. We take a different approach than most companies do because we differentiate the type of pain one would be experiencing. And this is where you really see that we're coming at this from a clinical perspective, because there are some things that work really well in one application that you don't want to use in other applications. So the cream is what we're using for what's called neuralgic pain. And this is when the nervous system is over responding to stimulus and you're hurting a lot more than you should be. And the cream is there to really be a pain block. The muscle sprain and the roll on are for what's called nociceptive pain. And that's when you have an injury. That's pain that is engaging um, your pain receptors that are only engaged when you tear tissue, and those are called vanillinoid receptors or TRPV1 or TRP receptors. And those specifically are ones that we can interfere with their function a little bit better with a different formulation. But when you have an injury, we don't want to fully mask the pain because then you'll just hurt yourself even more. You know, you wouldn't want to sprain your ankle and then take a bunch of ibuprofen and run a race. Yes, you could do it, but you're going to screw your whole leg and foot up even more because you don't have the proper integrity in your musculature and in your tendons and ligaments because they've been sprained, and you can hurt yourself even worse. And unfortunately, the cream is meant to be really powerful. You don't want to use that in an injury because it's a pain block and you can actually hurt yourself worse. But the cream is probably the best on the market as a pain block. It's really not so much the CBD, to be honest. It's 150 milligrams per ounce. It's a reasonable amount, but the assisting herbs by themselves would really be effective enough on their own. And in this case, they really help the hemp support a healthy pain response, as well as supporting the nervous system response to inflammation. And the benefits to this are usually experienced within about 2 minutes. So this is our full spectrum, same extract that we use of hemp that we with all the cannabinoids, terpenes, and other compounds. But then we get other herbs in there that just really are rock stars that were interfering with pain transmission. Corydalis would be the strongest of these, probably the least well known. It's from Chinese medicine. It's the strongest thing they have, one of the strongest herbs they work with for pain management. We also have arnica, St. John's wort, Jamaican dogwood, hops, turmeric, boswellia, which are all well known and work in different ways and multiple pathways and actions to inhibit the efficiency of pain receptions. And we have about 6 different ways that we are effectively blocking pain signaling. So this is great for situations where you're hurting in a way that's not appropriate. We also have ginger, tangerine, and spilanthes, and these are in there to improve the absorption and circulation of the formula into the tissue. Now, the muscle spray and roll on is our version of ancient Chinese healing oils that have been used for traumatic injury. They're sometimes called hit balms, and this would be used after martial arts to basically treat injuries that one might have in sparring. And we have taken what was called white flower oil and added our full spectrum CBD with Jamaican dogwood and cayenne to really improve the function of that formula. Jamaican dogwood is a nervine and calms down an overactive nervous system response. And then the cayenne specifically blocks TRPV1 receptors. So cayenne is really, really effective for injury type of pain. And there's more cayenne in the roll-on than there is in the spray. The roll-on is great because you can put it right where it hurts. So if you've got like that knot in the neck that you're dealing with, that from sleeping in the wrong position or staring too long at your screen, you could put it right there. It works great. And we can get away with more cayenne than we can in the spray because, frankly, if you use too much cayenne in a spray, you made mace, and that's not something you want to spray and breathe. So, really well put together formula. The original white flower oil was based on the use of things like lavender, peppermint, wintergreen, camphor, and menthol, and we have added to it Jamaican dogwood and cayenne. But really, really well-made formula that works really well. And we have since about a year ago, we came out with capsules, and this was in response to consumers asking for them. And this is something we were a little we were a little resistant because we really wanted people to dial into how much CBD they needed. But the simple fact is that a lot of people want convenience. So we spent about a year developing these formulas to help us figure out how to deliver CBD with other herbs and taking advantage of the fact that we could work with herbs that just don't play well in a formula, in a liquid form with cannabinoids. Cannabinoids are lipophilic, meaning they love fat, and some of the herbs we like to work with sometimes don't do well with those. They're water-loving compounds, and water and oil like to always separate. Well, we developed a method of tying CBD to plant fiber that allows us to blend it in a dry form with other herbs that might be hydrophilic. They like water, but when we put them in a dry form, they work really well together. So this has given a lot more freedom and range of choices in formulating and giving really exceptional results. So the immune formula comes directly from clinical practice in supporting patients who are dealing with cancer and autoimmune disorders. This is not meant to be for like cold flu use. This is for when your body really needs deep, heavy-duty support, when it's really dealing with heavy challenges. This immune support this formula supports the health of the ECS and the immune system for deep immune support with 20 milligrams of CBD per serving. We also use medicinal mushrooms that are grown in their native environment to get all the beneficial compounds found in the natural form. Reishi, chaga, and turkey tail are renowned for immune support, even in extremely challenging circumstances, and they also help improve cellular communication and function in the microbiome to improve immune function. Also, poria is probably one that most people are not familiar with. It's a mushroom that's renowned for helping to support immune function at times of greatest challenges. When someone is burning the candle at both ends, the immune system can get really challenged to function properly, and poria has long clinical history of supporting the immune system in times of duress. Now, Inflammasuport is our most popular of the capsules, and it's built for immediate and long-term benefit to reduce discomfort with herbs that interfere with pain sensor efficiency, promoting neuromodulation and healing, and promoting healing with better circulation and oxygenation of tissue. Now, the key herbs in here are going to be corydalis and turmeric, which give results very quickly. Typically, you're going to see an improvement in how you feel in about a half hour of taking this product. And then one of the ringers in here is boswellia, which boswellia is frankincense. And it is in this particular form is really great because the longer you take it, the better results you get. And there are clinical results showing continued significant improvement at 30, 60, and 90 days of use. So if you take it every day and keep taking it every day, Boswellia works even better. And then, of course, CBD supports the ECS as it modulates the pain response. Now, the stress support formula is built on multi-system support of a healthy stress response by supporting the nervous system with adaptogens and other herbs that support stress reduction and energy production. So we're supporting the nervous system, we're supporting the endocrine system. Now, this is using a balanced blend of ginsengs along with schizandra to support the endocrine system and adrenal function. We're using rhodiola, which supports mental concentration at times of stress. There's a really fun study done on rhodiola where they compared it with caffeine, with coffee, and with a control group with graduate students. And they had them gave everybody a test, and then a month later, or they gave them the exact same test, or a week later, they gave them the exact same tests. So they should have some predictability of what the results would be. Well, the caffeine group got the test done faster, but with more mistakes. The rhodiola group got things done just as fast as the caffeine group with fewer mistakes. So it's really interesting in that it helps with mental stress with an improved performance. Now, cordyceps is a fun one because it improves the ability of the body to use oxygen for energy production and is favored by endurance athletes for improving your ability to get to greater utilization of oxygen. And then ashwagandha helps to clear cortisol from the system, reducing harm from the stress response. And one last thing I want to throw in here, this is not yet available for Marlene's because it's not yet available. And but we've had questions about gummies, and we've been spending about a year working on this. And we have next week we're releasing our CBD gummies, and they're just a straightforward gummy. It's all natural sweeteners, no synthetics, no artificial ingredients. And this is going to be something you would use on an as-needed basis. Gummies are incredibly variable. Part of the reason it's taken us a year, it is really difficult to get consistency with when you're working with gummies. It's a total different level of alchemy. The chemistry is very different. You're working with heat and sugars in a way that really change how the herbs react. So it's taken us a long time to get where we can get consistent results with every single batch. You're going to have some digestion variants from person to person, but typically people are going to start to see benefits within about 15 to 30 minutes. So this is again similar to the buccal spray that gummies, and this is a general rule for gummies, as they get in quick and then they leave fairly quickly. So you're going to see these things deplete in about 6 hours, and that's a good general rule of gummies. So gummies, think of them as something that you would use on an as-needed basis, but not as effective as your oil for ongoing support of your health. So, in conclusion, CBD can be an effective way to help us better perceive and respond to challenges in our internal and external environment. And at a time when there are more and more reasons for stress and worry, CBD can be an effective ally to help us navigate the challenges of modern life. It's uniquely effective in helping us maintain a healthy perception of physical and emotional threat. So if you'd like more info, I invite you to visit our website for more info on our products, helpful articles, and of course, full access to the CFAs for every single product. So with that, I will end the presentation and stop sharing the screen. And if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you.
Thank you so much, Doug.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
I'm gonna check Facebook Live here, see if there's any comments. Don't see one. Jenny, do you have any questions? Well, while we're giving you a moment, I was really thrilled about the that oral CBD daily use chart.
Oh, excellent.
Yes, because that is definitely a question that some of our customers ask quite a bit. and also myself personally, what the dosage should be like, and this really lays it out, um, with each each of why the person is needing it, and the dosage, for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and bed. And um,
Yeah, I
I
think that we have a tendency to say, well, this is the answer. And one of the things we try to be is be honest that, well, there isn't one answer for everybody. It's more complicated than that. And if you set people up with a reasonable expectation of how this works, they're much more likely to get good results.
Exactly, instead of just selling them the bottle and be like, good luck.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a one size fits all situation.
Exactly. But that chart, what I can do is I can tell folks like, hey, check out this wonderful presentation by Mr. Doug Williams here, and learn a little bit more in depth about each product, but then they can also see that chart. Um, and I personally love the CBD plus, in the inflammation support product.
Oh yeah.
That
Yeah.
one has worked tremendously for myself, and I recommended it for other customers. And yeah, like what you're saying, within like 30 minutes or sooner, for me, it starts activating, and then I'm able to go about my day.
Oh, that's excellent. And one thing I don't know if I mentioned it, the capsule delivery is it tends for some reason it tends to stick around a lot longer. So that's actually a 2 a day delivery. Now you don't it's 20 milligrams per serving or 10 milligrams per capsule, so you can't adjust it down to the single milligram level the way you can oil, but it's more convenient and that ends up being a 2 a day approach.
Which is definitely doable, like someone, getting up, doing their stretching, get their capsule on with their
Hmm.
morning regimen, and then, throughout the day, if they, since they need it, take it. But, if not, then take it at night, and then just keep that momentum going, because you were saying the boswellia, it also builds up in your system over time.
Yeah, it has a cumulative effect that's been proven. It's not and it's one that herbalists have known about, that it seems to work better over time. But a study was done a few years ago where they actually measured inflammatory marker compounds, and they saw that, oh wow, this really does improve at not just 30 days but 60 days and 90 days. So it's nice to have that evidence.
That's spectacular.
Yeah.
And what better way, to get all of that in one product, and be able to keep that regiment going, and continue to feel, with less, to increase the pain relief.
Yeah, yeah, it's a nicely put together formula. Um, and again, I think probably the Boswellian is huge, and then the Coriolis really helps it kick in quickly. And I see that you've got your kitty there. Um, some people do ask if our products are available for pets. We did come out with a pet form, and it didn't do so well. But the truth is, our pet form was just our human form without flavoring. So you can always use the oral drops with your pets. You just use them in drop dosing, and rather than give them really high amounts, you might just give them like 3 or 4 drops and see what they do.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I had seen that on the shelf um a while back, and then I hadn't seen it, and I was like, oh darn. So that's good to know that that's available. And so folks out there, you can purchase, the oral drops with no flavoring, and that way you and your furry companions can get your CBD on.
Yeah, yeah. The ones we produced for our fur kids was always the same as the humans. We never went to a lower quality. We're all a bunch of big animal lovers as well.
Oh, That's wonderful. Yes, we have to take care of our furry companions too. They're part of the
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and that's exciting about the gummies.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. That we
Yay.
kind of fought that kicking and screaming. We didn't want to do it because we didn't think of it as serious. But people have been asking for it since gummies came out. But about a year ago, our practitioners started asking for it. They're like, "Will you please do gummies?" We're like, "Really?" Because we were like, we didn't want to confuse it with candy or anything like that, and we didn't want to confuse it with the recreational market. But it is the most popular growing segment of the supplement industry. I mean, you've got Metamucil gummies now, and like I saw that there's like a NyQuil sleep formula with gummies. I'm just like, well, okay, these all people want their candy. So we have been working on it for a year because it is a different type of chemistry. And our big thing is having consistency and efficacy from batch to batch so that every time you use it, you kind of have a sense of what to expect. We really hang our hat on that and take that seriously. And I would say it took, probably 8 months before our R&D team felt like they were really getting a good feel of what they could do with predictability. And then they've been spending, about the past 3 months really dialing it in to get it to where we can get the consistency in every batch. And even now, we just did 3 batches to launch, and one of them failed. You know, and I can tell, and Haley was telling me, she's like, "Oh yeah, most people would probably sell it," but it wasn't identical, and that's what we're going for, is that it would be identical, and it was um, just inconsistent. And rather than pay for all the testing to prove, well, it could be okay, they're like, no, it's going to feel different, it's going to have a different texture to it. We're just, we'll pitch that one because they'd rather just know they have the quality dialed in than just you know take the easy out.
Exactly. And that's why y'all at Green Earth Medicinals are one of a kind, putting the best high quality products out there, and you truly care about the I cannot say it right now, the efficacy of
Hmm.
each product coming out and having it consistent and you know, uh with gummies gumming up the market, um y'all wanting to put a good high quality product out there, and that's why y'all are the absolute best.
Why, that's very kind of you, thank you very much. We work hard to earn that trust.
It is seen and felt. And I personally love your products. I know a lot of our fellow colleagues and coworkers also use your products, and we're just very appreciative of you, Doug, and everyone down there at Green Earth Medicinals.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you. Well, with that, I guess we'll finish up then, and I wish everyone to be well, and thank you for your time. I hope this has been worthwhile for everybody.
Yes, thank you so much, Doug, and thanks everyone for tuning in.